The Marlins swept by the Washington Nationals, a 4-game series and 4 fat L's for the Marlins. However, Skip Schumacher lays down the law. Jesus Sanchez was yanked in between innings after misplaying a ball in right field and allowing the runner to get to second base. The fundamentals are not being executed, and Skip Schumacher not happy. We're 30 games in, but already the cracks are appearing on the Marlins. Tons to get into. This is Locked On Marlins.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings from England and welcome to Locked On Marlins. This is your daily Marlins podcast. I'm your host, Peter Pratt. Hit me up, of course, at Miami Marlins _UK. If you're listening to the pod, of course, hit subscribe and leave a review. Yes, please. This is your team every day, and thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. Happy Tuesday, guys. It is the final day of April. Unfortunately, the Marlins are 6-24 at this point. Not optimal. Reminder, though, there is a YouTube channel. Make sure you hit subscribe over on the YouTube channel. That is also called Locked On Marlins. Easy to find, easy to subscribe, and easy to join me in the comments, baby. And the comments have been filled with negative feedback around the way this Marlins season is going. Rightly so. It's all fair. And I encourage you to come and join me there. This episode is sponsored by our good friends over at Monopoly Go. And I admit it, I have a competitive side, as you know. And it is as a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go now, free on the App Store or Google Play. So the Marlins end their series against the Nats. Reminder, these were the Nats that, basically the Marlins could not lose a game to in the past 2 seasons. But this version of the Nats against this version of the Marlins swept at home in a 4-game series. The Marlins somehow, particularly the Sunday game, found a way to lose a game they shouldn't. I think in reality, a 4-game sweep by the Nats was fair, was probably a fair result, which just shines a light on how badly this team is performing at this point. When the Nats roll into your building and spank you and sweep the series 4-0, then for me, that is a really bad indicator. Because the Nats are definitely, they may be a touch better than last season, but this is a Nats team that was projected and is still projected to be towards the bottom, if not at the bottom of the NL standings when it's all said and done. So they've got a couple of guys that are ascending, clearly like CJ Abraham's really nice piece. But, other than that, there's it's not the most talent-filled roster. They run a lot. They're good at what they do. They put a lot of pressure on you, and they manufacture runs, which is really interesting. It's a really interesting way of playing baseball, right? It's kind of like the old Marlins days. Remember the days where you had Mag Sierra out in center field, and you had John Birdie doing his thing, and Lewis Brinson, and everyone was running wild. They were manufacturing runs. This Marlins offense, although it has been way underperforming, it's one of the main things and bugbears that I've had with this offense is its lack of creativity in terms of the way it goes about trying to create runs. And even when they do, missteps and misjudgments are the Achilles heel. And we're going to talk about that. This wasn't actually on the offensive side, but we need to talk about clearly the big news from yesterday. Sixto? Jesus Sanchez. We're going to talk about Sixto later on. Don't you worry. You're going to get your fill of Sixto Sanchez before his start against the Rockies. But the big flashpoint yesterday that has got plenty of attention, Jesus Sanchez was yanked from the game. There was a line drive, to right field it wasn't well hit. It was relatively routine in some ways, but Jesus Sanchez effectively lost the ball in the lights. And as the ball was getting near, he lost in the lights. He went into that protective defensive mode that you go into when effectively you can't see the ball, either in the lights or the sun. And we've seen the sun. We saw the sun impacting the guys, I think, in that Chicago series. And so it happens. Like, you have to deal with the elements. But Jesus Sanchez, there was a ball hit towards him. He lost the ball. He went into a defensive position, which is expected. That's what anyone will do, any human being. The ball drops in front of him. What happens next was interesting. And this is where Skip ended up removing Jesus Sanchez from the game, because his belief at that point was he wasn't putting in full effort. Mistakes happen. Things happen in baseball you can't control. But one thing for certain that Skip Schumacher demands, and it is a demand and it is a fundamental, is 100% max effort. Let's just start there without the Jesus Sanchez specifics. We're going to talk about that in a sec. In that topic area, I and anyone, any fan, will be fully on board with that message from Skip Schumacher. That should be the minimum expectation of any professional athlete that any fan should have, is that the guys on the field are giving 100% effort at all times. That isn't always the case, clearly. Listen, baseball is a long season. 162 is long. I get it. Guys are banged up, mentally drained, physically drained, emotionally drained. Everything that's going on. And so I get it. Sometimes there's little moments that are highlighted where guys maybe aren't giving it full gasolina. It's fair to say that fans, media, commentators, other players, like, people are quick to call that out, by the way. So that generally that behavior is called out and accountability is there. Skip Schumacher demands that from his guys. It's one of the first things that when Skip rolled in last year, he spoke about in detail, passionately, holding each other to account, making sure everyone understands what's expected and holding them to account. So that is part of Skip Schumacher's DNA, probably as a as a player, as a coach, as a manager now, which is great. And I fully buy into that. I want to call out now, by the way, for any, if there's a lack of clarity in this area, I want to just confirm and clarify my stance. I absolutely love everything about Skip Schumacher. I love the way he approaches the game, his management style, the way he engages with the media, everything. I am a huge Skip Schumacher fan, and I will always be. Feels like this will be the final year of Skip Schumacher in the Marlins, but I will forever be a Skip Schumacher fan. I think he is a true ascending quality manager and will have a long time in the game and a really successful time. So let's get back to Jesus Sanchez. So yesterday, the Jesus Sanchez thing that happened next, after he lost the ball in the lights, the ball kind of came to him, after a few bounces or a bounce or two. He didn't make the out. Jesus Sanchez then, it was a weird pattern where he started to trot backwards nonchalantly, looking around, smiling. Just vintage Jesus Sanchez. Vintage Jesus Sanchez, where hasn't got a care in the world, seemingly. Smile on his face, jogging around, trotting around. Whilst all this is happening, not to forget that this was actually kind of like a line drive ball out to right field that should have been an out but wasn't. Okay, lost in the lights. But next thing is, he sees Jesus Sanchez and how nonchalant he is. He carries on going. He carries on putting the gasolina down. All meanwhile, Jesus Sanchez takes another 3 steps back and another swivel of the head and another smile and probably another gyration. And then he finally zings it into Tim Anderson. Good throw, by the way. Tim Anderson can't get the tag on quick enough. He then hurts himself in the process and the runner's safe. All in all, it was just a 2024 Marlins play in many ways. The type of play, the type of situation that you shouldn't see. We shouldn't be seeing that on the field I get it that things happen. Bad bounces, misreads, mistakes, anything. And in this case, lost the ball in the lights. What happens next was effectively a mental error. A mental error from Jesus Sanchez. He lost the ball in the lights, and because of that, he just completely switched off to the game. And he just thought, great, I haven't been hit by a baseball. That feels like a win. And okay, it should have been an out, but I haven't been hit by the baseball, so it is a win. So I'm going to trot around here and then zing it in. Jesus Sanchez again continues to show how disengaged he is in the wider landscape of what is happening in the game. His in-game awareness is the worst I've ever seen of any player. In the field, on the bases, and at times in the box. And at times off the field. And we've seen that other years where he ends up sleeping in and missing a game. This is not the first occasion for Jesus Sanchez. Fundamentally, this dude has got some growing up to do, I think. He's got to improve his awareness. And this isn't through a lack of coaching. This isn't through a lack of highlighting these issues. I think this has clearly been pointed out to him. But for whatever reason, with Jesus Sanchez, the penny will not drop. Nothing is landing with this dude. And for whatever reason, in the heat of battle, he just has these mental, almost blackouts, where he just forgets what's going on. And other guys and other teams naturally are taking advantage of that. So let me just finish this one final segment here on the Jesus Sanchez benching. Skip Schumacher put it down to a lack of effort. He expects and demands effort, 100% effort at all times. I'm fully on board with that. I just want to call out that my personal view on this one was this was not a lack of effort. It wasn't lack of effort. In my opinion, it's just lack of awareness. Jesus Sanchez had a mental lapse, another mental lapse. He didn't expect for the runner to even consider going to second. He just expected the runner to get to first and be happy he was at first. That's not the case. Other guys, a team like the Nats in particular, a team that's aggressive on the bases, looking to manufacture runs, looking to seize opportunity in any given moment, any given lapse, and they're all over it because that is the type of team and culture they have rolling this year, where the Marlins have completely the opposite, seemingly a lack of pace in anything they do, a lack of awareness in anything they do, a lack of quality in a lot of things they do. The Nats may lack some of the natural talent, but they are certainly making up for it in the way that they approach the game. Jesus Sanchez, the ball went to him, he lost it in the lights, and he just didn't expect that the guy would just carry on and seize that opportunity. He wasn't even thinking about that. Before he did realize it was too late. It's a lack of awareness. I've mentioned it on 2 podcasts ago. Surprise, surprise, 2 podcasts on, 2 days later, it's already come to roost. Where I said, Brian De La Cruz, Jesus Sanchez, the two of them, we've seen them for years. They're both brain dead. For whatever reason, they've got a mental disconnect. And for a guy like Skip Schumacher, that is a guy that demands excellence at all times, born winner, demands excellence, demands 100% of everything. These are the types of players that will drive him mad. It's the type of play that will drive him mad. And for the first time, we finally saw Skip Schumacher snap with an on-the-field decision. I'm pretty confident that this will not be the first time that Skip and Jesus Sanchez have had any type of conversation in this area. I'm pretty confident on that topic area. However, for the first time ever, I would say it specifically impacted the on-field decision, which was basically that he was benched, removed from the game for apparent lack of effort. Man, oh man, that is a statement move from Skip. Like I said, it may not be, in my opinion, this wasn't effort, it was awareness. However, maybe this was just necessary. Maybe Jesus Sanchez, in this one specific moment, He became the necessary fall guy for Skip Schumacher to make and remind everyone of what he demands. Make a statement. Make an example out of someone. Listen, guys, screw your heads on or you're riding the bench, effectively. For some guys, they may be happy to be on the bench at this point, considering the Marlins are 6-24. But that's beside the point. No one wants that level of embarrassment. These are pro athletes. They're pro baseball players. No one wants to be on the bench, truly. And so, felt like a statement move from Skip and a signal also to the fan base that Skip's all in. He's still in, because a lot of people are still asking that question around Skip Schumacher. Does he still care? Is he on his way out? Does Skip care still in 2024? I think this is a signal to the fan base that I'm still here. I'm still here and I'm still fighting. I still want to win and I demand excellence. I'm not seeing excellence from too many guys. Finally, he snaps and makes a move with Jesus Sanchez. Let me know what you think about this whole situation in the comments and YouTube in particular, or of course, DM me on Twitter, of course, at @MiamiMarlins_UK. Hit me up. Let me know your thoughts. I put it out there on Twitter as well, like my actual snap reaction to that. I know what Skip said. I know why he said it. I don't truly believe this was a lack of effort, but this was just another brain fart from Jesus Sanchez in a series littered with these issues. And I think just Skip wanted to make a statement. So we'll wait to see. Jesus Sanchez is back in there in the lineup today, facing obviously a righty's going. He's got a great record against him as well. He's hit 2 home runs off this guy. And so, I was very interested to see would Jesus Sanchez be straight in there, considering he has the best record of any of the Marlins hitters against the starter for the Rockies tonight. And he is back in there. Let's hit the first ad. Then I want to talk about another guy hitting bombs, and it's Chisholm Jr. And then we also need to talk about Sixto Sanchez later in the show. Sixto is back on the big league mound as a starter. Yes, sir. But before we do that, let's let you know about our good friends over at FanDuel. Yes, sir. We got the graphics pumped. And guys, it is playoff time in the NBA. Heat is still rolling, just about. The NHL, baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150. Win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on the app that's safe, secure, easy to use. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. All right, guys, back here with me, Peter Pratt, on Tuesday, the 30th of April. We're going to say goodbye to April pretty soon. It's been a putrid one. The Marlins have still only won 6 games this year. We're at that 30-game mark. It's the official mark that Jazz Chisholm Jr. has set. It was last season that he set this mark, but nevertheless, it will forever be the mark where I start to evaluate where this team is heading. Yes, they're 6-24. And by the way, I just want to call this out. I listened today to the Marlins radio guys, their podcast. Long Tossing. Good name as well, by the way. Steven Strom, Kyle Seelaff, Rod Allen was on this one. So the 3 guys, Steven Strom asking the questions. And I highly recommend you go and listen to it, by the way. Really good episode. Steven Strom asking some very challenging questions to the guys. Rod Allen also firing back with a few questions himself. My favorite, I think, was just, why is this farm system so bad? Which was a very valid question. Nevertheless, with that one, I think 6-24, I think, is a touch on the record is the record. And so, that's the saying that we all use. The record is your record. It kind of is what it is. But at the same time, there's more talent than meets the eye. This team shouldn't be 6-24. And I think we'd all agree on that. But fundamentally, either the offense goes cold or the bullpen blows the game. Or, the starters aren't without fault either. So the record is the record. This team, the way it started, the 0-9 start just put them in, behind the 8 ball straight away, right? They just came out so cold, and it's impossible for them to recover. Clearly, they're missing some starters, et cetera, et cetera. But anyway, long way of saying 6-24. It probably feels a little bit unfair. The Pythag on it would probably say they should be, 8-22 or something. Nevertheless, this season and the Marlins year in 24 is cooked. We'll still be here, though. Locked On Marlins still going to be here because what I know for certain is there's going to be drama, guys. There is going to be drama this year. And it may be on the field. We're starting to see signs of that now. Jesus Sanchez yanked for lack of effort. Skip Schumacher, he's relaying the law. He's giving it the Sly Stallone, I am the law. Judge Dredd special. That was a poor Sly Stallone, by the way. That was absolutely putrid. That was one of the worst impressions probably ever attempted on Locked On or any other podcast. But nevertheless, Skip giving it the Judge Dredd treatment, letting everyone know there's going to be drama. There is going to be drama because there's going to be moves. And they're going to be moves that are probably unpopular. They're going to be unpopular because some of our favorite Marlins are going to be moved. We're going to bring in some talent that we're all going to hype up significantly. We're going to fall in love with these prospects. They're going to slot into number 2 prospect in the Marlins system straight away. And we're like, hey, farm's fixed. And then we'll wait to see if actually the Marlins can develop any offensive talent. It's going to be the test over the next 2 seasons. The major league roster is going to be likely depleted. And the main test will be whoever the Marlins draft or acquire via trades offensively. Can they start to see a degree of progression where guys improve? Where they start to ascend within prospect rankings? Where maybe they find someone in the 5th round and turn them into a stud? I mean, we haven't seen any of that. Even the 1st round guys have turned into busts within 3 weeks. So just imagine if, this is the acid test for me. When it comes down to it, I'm going to evaluate the success of this whole off-field rebuild that's gone on. Maybe the on-field is going to have a rebuild. But for me, it's going to boil down to all these dudes, all these analytics guys, all these scouts, all these development specialists, everything that's going on, the infrastructure that's in place. Can the Marlins make a 10th round pick and turn him into a stud in 2 years? Can they do it? That's going to be the acid test for me. Not can they draft a dude in the 1st round and make him a big leaguer? Anyone could do that. Well, most people can. But can they polish these rough diamonds? That's what I'm interested in. Speaking of diamonds, that wasn't a planned segue, but I'm going to roll with it. Jazz Chisholm Jr., baby. I hyped him up on yesterday's podcast, suggesting that, in my opinion, he's the best offensive player and is the biggest, has the most trade value if the Marlins decide to go that path. He is on a heater, a salami, and then a 2-run shot to follow it up the next day. Jazz, he's on 4 bombs, 5 bags in the 40-40 tracker that continues to roll on. But anyway, it's great to see Jazz heating up. I mentioned it briefly with Sean yesterday. We were talking in different contexts, but I just want to call out that the under-the-radar piece with Jazz is just the sheer amount of walks that we've seen, that we've never seen, I don't think, ever before from Jazz. It does feel like I was watching the game Sunday very closely, and he took a couple of walks in that game. What I would say is, in previous years, it felt like Jazz was getting no benefit of the doubt at all in that low and away zone. It feels like that's readjusted a touch. It's rebalanced, where it's like the calls are actually right. Because I remember Jazz seemingly having just a terrible run of missed calls and just the amount of frustration he had around that. But Jazz remains, the biggest impact stick in this, not just the stick with his legs too, but and defensively. But it's great to see someone progressing in their game in a year where seemingly everyone is going backwards. I don't think anyone else has progressed apart from Jazz. I mean, to be fair, Avisel Garcia has had a degree of progression from where he was, but I don't think beyond Jazz there's anyone that's actually improved anything this year. But Jazz, certainly his eye, his patience seemingly has improved. The power's still there. And if it's in the zone, he can absolutely unload, no doubt about it. So generally for me with Jazz Chisholm Jr., and I said this on Twitter earlier, I'll be savoring every Jazz at bat this year because I don't know how many I'm going to see with him in a Marlins uniform. He's the most dynamic Marlins player by some distance. A lot of people like Arias too. I like Arias too. I like the profile. But there's a showmanship about Jazz. There's a swag. There's all that kind of stuff that I like, that I enjoy. I enjoy that element in many ways about baseball. And I feel with Jazz too, there's a strong desire to succeed. He's got a strong desire as well to prove people wrong. He's got a strong desire to walk into the arbitration room with a fat smile on his face and to absolutely coin it in. Whether that arbitration discussion will be with the Marlins next year, who knows? Let's hit the final ad and then let's look ahead to the Rockies series. And Sixto Sanchez is going again for the Marlins as a starter, which I don't think comes as a surprise after the last time. I sensed after, Skip Schumacher spoke about it, that this felt like the way things were likely to go, that Sixto would get another shot, and he is going to get another shot. Before that, let's let you know about our good friends over at DoorDash. Yes, sir. And mums are a gift, so give her the best this Mother's Day. Get gifts as thoughtful as she is with DoorDash, and you can select from hundreds of expertly crafted bouquets to the best of tech, to self-care essentials, and more delivered right to her door. Does mum have that sweet tooth? I think all mums do. Is she a tech enthusiast or still struggling with tech? Who knows? A beauty connoisseur? You know it. Or is she outdoorsy? No matter what she's into, you can make her smile with a fruit or flower bouquet, makeup, tech gear, workout wear, and more. So get a Mother's Day gift as unique as she is with DoorDash. Use code LOCKEDONMLB to get 50% off your next order, up to $15 when you spend $15 or more on your next flower, convenience, grocery, or retail order now on DoorDash. That's LOCKEDONMLB. Order using DoorDash today. Terms apply. All right, guys, final segment here with me, Peter Pratt. And thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. It's Tuesday, the 30th of April. The Marlins play baseball again today. They are currently mired in a 7-game losing streak. They've lost 7 on the spin. Boy, oh boy, this is pain. Run differential currently minus 64. They welcome in the Rockies, though, by the way, who have won 7 games thus far. They've only lost 21, though, so, they're slightly better. They've lost their last 2. Their run differential is minus or negative 70. Boy, oh boy, we're still in April, and the combined run differential of these two clubs that have yet to win a series or consecutive games between them is negative 134. Holy smokes. I don't think there has ever been an April matchup as bad as this one. Ever in the history of baseball. Let me know if you actually know the answer to that. Feltner's going for the Rockies. He's 1-2 on the year with a 5.68 ERA. Like I mentioned, Jesus Sanchez has a really good record against him. So that could be interesting, particularly considering all of the commotion yesterday. Sixto Sanchez is starting again for the Marlins. Like I mentioned with Sixto last time around, I thought it was interesting. He got the start. He got better as the game went on, as maybe the nerves subsided. I think considering where the season is at and considering where the rotation is at with injuries still playing a prominent role, Sixto in the rotation makes sense. It makes sense at this point. And really, the Marlins, there's nothing to lose at this point. And if you can get Sixto back to a situation where he can deliver 4, 5, even 6 innings in starts, then considering where we're at with Sixto Sanchez, this would be a huge, fat dub. I have to be honest, out of the bullpen, I was not impressed with what I saw. Sixto's always been a starter. We go back to where he was in 2020, when he was the talk of the league, effectively. Where the Marlins are at right now, they can use this as a developmental progression situation for Sixto. And for me, he's in the right role at this point. I'm glad that he's back there. And I'm glad, actually, the Marlins have pulled the pin on the AJ Puck situation as a starter. He looks like a reliever. He is a reliever at this point, and he's going to return as a reliever, whenever that may be. Other note just on the starting situation is that Jesus Luzardo was seen throwing yesterday, playing catch, really encouraging. By all accounts, minor or mild flexor strain on that one for Jesus Luzardo. So that's really encouraging, to be honest with you. He's obviously going to miss a couple of starts. We're expecting Rodri Munoz, I believe, to return for tomorrow's game. So, we'll see if that is made official. But the expectation is that Munoz will be up, back recalled after what I thought was a really impressive start as well. So, listen, the Marlins have the opportunity now to try a few things with some of these arms, and put guys in the right position. I think Sixto Sanchez in the rotation is the right position for him. I think AJ Puck in the bullpen is the right position. They're still trying to figure it out in this bullpen, generally. And to that point, like Skip Schumacher, just kind of going back to where we started this episode, Skip Schumacher will never, ever wave a white flag and let guys just coast along, even though the season looks cooked. Skip will never allow that. That is not in his DNA. And so I love the fact that he's always going to hold this team accountable and be expecting excellence from them. And really, that's a great culture to be around for guys that are trying to prove themselves as well. Some of these guys could get lazy, could let it slide, etc., but Skip won't let them. It's perfect. It's perfect. Skip is the perfect manager at this point. He's going to be a big loss for the Marlins moving forwards. Not only are there going to be subtractions or deletions from this roster, but equally from Skip as the manager. And the other thing that we haven't spoken about yet, that we're going to speak about in the coming days, maybe weeks, is the ace. The ace in the... What's the description I'm thinking of? Anyway, the jewel in the crown. The ace in the hole. Is that what I'm going for? I don't even know. What I'm trying to say is the Marlins have Mel Stottlemyre. And what Mel Stottlemyre has been able to do time and time and time again has proved so valuable. So valuable. The question will be, though, as Skip Schumacher exits, maybe so does Mel Stottlemyre at that point. And boy, oh boy, for me, that would be a huge step back for the Marlins. That isn't for today. It's for another day. But it's something we should start thinking about. We're thinking about Skip. We kind of know the direction with Skip. We know what that means probably for John Jay, for the rest of his staff. Like, Skip's built this staff himself. They'd have bought into Skip's culture, no doubt. Mel Stottlemyre was here before Skip. Skip understood the excellence. He knew what he had, and he convinced Mel to stay. The question will be is whether Mel will want to commit beyond this year with the Marlins, or whether, again, whoever the new manager may be, whether they want to go in a different direction and build a different staff that doesn't include Mel Stottlemyre Jr. Thanks for making Locked On Marlins your first listen, guys. Let's see how the Marlins roll against the Rockies. This is a very poor-looking matchup. It feels like a great opportunity for the Marlins to get a win behind Sixto Sanchez and get up to 7 wins on the year. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow, recapping this one and looking ahead to the rest of the series of the Rockies, and maybe even thinking about some more Mel Stottlemyre future news. See you then.